Do you love the idea of personal growth but find the practice of it exhausting?
We get it.
We're Brandon and Megan Giggling, growth coaches with the mission to put the personal back in personal growth.
If you want a new way of growing into the next version of you without the frustration, guilt, and overwhelm, you're in the right place.
It's time to rethink your growth journey and make it into something that works for you.
You in?
Welcome to Growth Reframed.
Hey guys, welcome to Growth Reframed. Today on the podcast, we are talking about making the most of. And whether you're talking about summer specifically, like I kind of want to today, hopefully we will be able to, or life in general, it's important to make the most of the time that we're given. And it kind of got me thinking because we are about to head into a very busy season of our life for the next few weeks. And I was just thinking, like, I have the choice, really. I have the choice to make of whether I'm going to make the most of this time or if I'm going to let the minor annoyances of the time that it's about to be control it and make me not enjoy the time as much.
Well, yeah, it's true. I mean, you always have control of how you show up and how the attitude you're going to have. And I always like to preface it with that because so often we feel like we don't. And there are so many things that are just out of control. But like you said, there is going to be a lot of chaos happening. And we'll get into that. But you also got to appreciate the moment, right? You got to appreciate what you're doing. So it's like making the most of ... because really we're going to ask you to fill in the blanks throughout this as we talk about our own experience and figure out where you can implement some of these things.
Right. And this topic just reminds me of a song. It's a country song. And it's called Till You Can't, and it's by Cody Johnson. And he's talking about basically how we don't really know how much time we have. And he's talking about how you might take a rain check to go fishing with your dad, or you might wait a little long to ask the person you love to marry you, just different scenarios. And then he's saying, and in all these things, there's going to come a point when you're just too late. And the chorus says, if you get a chance, take it while you got a chance. If you got a dream, chase it, because a dream won't chase you back. If you're going to love somebody, hold them as long and as strong and as close as you can till you can't. And I'm just like, I mean, come on. Like, if that doesn't make you want to make the most out of your time, out of your situation, out of whatever's next for you, then I don't know what will, because it's just profound. I mean, it's just this reminder that life is so fragile, and if we're not making the most of it, what are we even doing? And I am one of the people that needs this reminder the most because I am so very bad at just enjoying the moment and going with the flow. I am very much a planner. I am incredibly anal. I need everything the way I need it. And this is like, I need to listen to my own advice sometimes on this because it's very hard for me to make the most of, and it's something that I have to work on all the time, or else I am 100% guilty of not making the most of it and instead focusing on the wrong things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and I'm proud of you for identifying that, because that's like one of the biggest things. It's like, one of the biggest first steps is admitting
well, thank you.
where you need some help. But I mean, you've done a lot better because you've been conscious of it, but it doesn't take away from the fact that life happens, things happen, stress happens, a to-do list that never ends happens, kids happen, fill in the blank. And the reality is we're all infinitely good, just as you are, at justifying why we're not going to do the things, why we can't enjoy the time we're in. Let's be real. We're pulled away 1,000 times a minute with pings on our phone, things online, people that need us. Like the connectivity we all have is amazing. But I find in our own life, it often pulls away from what's most important and making the most of the times that we have. Mm-hmm. And we often joke, like a lot of our family still lives out of state. And we still have people that live close, but a lot of our family lives out of state in Michigan, which is where we're originally from. And we a lot of times laugh because we'll all be sitting here on a couch. Like we'll be on a couch, I'll be in the chair.
When we're together.
When we're all together. It's such a rare occasion that we are. And guess what? All of us have in front of our face, the phone. And a lot of times either me or Meg will not be on our phone and we'll be like, man, we feel left out. But y'all, I mean, how often do we do that? Like you don't really appreciate the things. And I'm guilty of it too. I think about it a lot in the context of our kids because they're just constantly getting older. It's crazy how time goes on that they get so much older, but it feels like I'm living my life sometimes in fast forward when I look at them, because I'm like, how is our daughter 8 and our son just turned 5? And then I look at some of our other family and just how old they're getting. Like your sister's about to get married. It's insane because I literally, met her when she was in 4th grade.
Right.
And like some of my nieces and nephews are like graduating or going on to high school or in college now. And it's like, what happened and how did that happen? But when I look at things in the context of that, you just don't know. You only have the moment while it's there. There's really no guarantees after that. So like this moment right now of us recording this podcast, I mean, I'm not trying to be morbid, but like there's no guarantee that you have another one of these.
Right.
There's no guarantee that you have that opportunity to like make amends or have a moment with a friend or talk to that family member or be with your kids like when they're young and they actually care. Like so much of our life right now is just the chaos of having kids. And it's so stressful, y'all. I know if you have kids, it's just like a very stressful thing. But everyone tells you like it's over before you know it. It's over in an instant. And you can hear that all the time and it sounds real cliche and you're like, yeah, okay, whatever. But y'all, we're living it in real time. But like the reality is we all live like we have a never ending clock that's just going to keep ticking and we just don't know how long we have.
Right. And I'm glad you brought up my sister's wedding because that for us, so her wedding is what is today? Today's Monday. Her wedding's like several days away at this point.
By the time they're listening to this, it'll be several weeks away.
No, several weeks past.
Well, yeah, several weeks past.
So anyway, it's this upcoming Saturday. By the time you're listening, it will already be done and over with. But her wedding's this upcoming Saturday, and for us, it's at our house. So we agreed to host this wedding in our front and backyard. And we're very excited about that. But also, it comes with the need for a lot of people to be in and around our house for several days prior and probably a little bit after. And we're just about to enter this season of chaos. Like it's going to be a crazy few weeks. Brandon's parents are coming into town in a few days on Wednesday, and they're staying with us for several weeks, which is great. We love having them. It's a blessing to us. But, there is a part of us that's like, well, now we have several weeks where it won't just be the 4 of us. And there's people, I use this word and I don't want to use this word. I just can't think of a better word, invading your space. And it's not in a negative way. It's just that for a while, it won't be the 4 of us and there will be acting.
It's just a change of routine.
Right.
I mean, it's like, it's not the norm.
Right.
It's not the status quo. So it feels a little different.
Right. And so, with your parents being here, with my sister and her fiance, almost husband being here, like just extra people in and around for this actual wedding, it's just going to be a lot of just moving parts for a while. And with that, like that is, my little planner and introverted heart and all of me is like screaming, oh my goodness, this is going to be a big thing for me. This is a lot of togetherness. This is a lot of family dynamic here. This is a lot of, modern family pieces kind of going on here with all the different, family dynamics that are coming together as one family for this event. And so it's a lot. And I have a choice to make. I can see this for what it is, which is a great time of togetherness, although it will be stressful at points, although it will be chaotic at points. And I can choose to see that as a blessing that it truly is, or I can choose to focus on all the things and all the minor annoyances that I know are coming our way over the next few weeks, because they will, because that's human nature, because that's how it's going to be. People will get irritated with each other, and it's just going to have to be. Right after the wedding, we get a week to recover, and then we're heading to the beach. And a lot of the family that was at the wedding will then be moving towards the beach with us for a week. So it'll just be a lot of togetherness for a while. And I love that because our parents are aging. I mean, quite frankly, our parents are heading, they're heading towards 70. And as morbid and as horrible it is, you don't know. There's no guarantee, like Brandon, you were saying, that there's going to be other years for beach trips and there's going to be other years for family parties and weddings and togetherness. It's not a promise. And so I can choose to let all my inner voices tell me about how stressed I'm going to be about this, or I can choose to just kind of let it play out and make the most of it and enjoy my time with them because, like I said, it's not a promise that we can do this again next year. It's not a promise that we can do this again next month. It's just not. And for me, it's just like been hitting a little bit harder recently, like as our parents get a little bit older, as we get a little bit older, as our kids are our youngest is starting kindergarten. That feels crazy to me that I could possibly have a son that's old enough to start kindergarten and he's my youngest. And there's just so much like moving pieces of life. And I just, it's overwhelming at times, but I have to be able to see the beauty in it. And if I don't, then what am I even doing?
Well, yeah, that's the reality. I mean, a few things you said there, but one of the things, because we've had those conversations, I was actually joking with your mom the other day about it, about them getting older. And she's like, hey, but we're young, at heart.
And all of our, by the way, all of our parents are.
They are. But the point is, it's funny that you said that too, because we've had those conversations, but you said age as a thing, and we think that age is a defining moment. Mm-hmm. Like we just listened to a training video, and the guy was like, the nines always hit me. When I'm 29, about to be 30, it hit me. And when I'm, 39, about to be 40, it hit me. And it was like defining moments in a man's life is what he was really talking about, and in people's lives. But we tie a lot to age as far as like how much time we have left. But the reality is we don't know how much time we have left. Mm-hmm. And how many things are you putting off, one, or not appreciating at all like you should be? And how much more would you do that if you knew that that was going to be potentially the last time that happened? Right. Like for as annoying as it is, a lot of the times with family and friends, and I say that lovingly, but it is, it's irritating sometimes. Like you said, I get to make the choice to appreciate those times, to try to value those times more while they're still there. And I think we're just so distracted. That's the problem. Like talking about making the most of, I just don't think you can talk enough about making the most of without talking about the constant distractions that are always in front of us and the things that we seemingly have to do. And you guys can't see my quotes, but the things we have to do or should do, that do we really have to do those things? Is that of the utmost importance? Is that what we really need to be focusing on? And the older I get, the older my kids get, the more connection we make together, the more I focus in and get a clearer picture at what is important to me. What am I trying to do? What do I need to do to be content, to be happy? And it's funny because the more focused in I get, the less I actually find out that I need. Like I thought I needed all these things. And it's like if you really pinpoint it down, there's actually a lot less that I actually need. And then you got to start to question, like you said, pulling at the thread, is that what I'm prioritizing in my life? And is that what I'm doing? Mm-hmm. Talking about going to the beach, like you just don't know that you have that trip again. I've talked to a bunch of people that say, they'd love to do this or love to do that, or someday they're going to do this or someday they're going to do that. But the way that song plays is, and that when Meg first heard it, she didn't really like it because it's a little bit depressing to think about, which is why we deflect and don't want to. But I think we're missing out if we don't think about our own mortality.
Right.
Because it is coming. It's not like you have to sit there and fear it, but you do need to be practical with the fact that you just don't know. And so each day that you wake up, there's a lot of people that didn't. Each day that you get to go out and do those annoying things that are annoying you, other people would love to have that opportunity. And it's just how you frame it in your own mind and how you think about it and how you show up with that every day, knowing that you don't know how much longer you have.
Absolutely. And so for us, like right now, as we're rolling into summer hot, and I do mean hot because it has been so obnoxiously warm here. This is so warm, guys. But I mean, our goal right now is simply to make the most of our summer together. And so while we're talking through how we're doing that, I just want you guys to really be thinking about what your current thing is. Like, what are you trying to make the most of right now? And how can you, what are your bullet points? Basically, what are you going to be doing to make that happen? How will you actually go about making the most of ... what your thing is? So for instance, for us, like one of the most important things to our family has become over time this week-long beach trip that we take over the summer. It means so much to us. We love it so much. It's actually gotten way more expensive every single year we've done it. But to us, the finances of it don't matter as much as just the time together because it forces us away from our normal routine. It forces us away from work. It forces us to be together as a family. For several years now, we've had most of like Brandon's parents, my parents, sometimes my sister, sometimes her fiance, like a bunch of people like come during different stages of our week at the beach and get to hang out with us. And is it chaotic? Like I was saying earlier? Sure. But is it also awesome and a blessing? Of course it is. And by prioritizing this beach week, it really is prioritizing family. It's prioritizing one of our core values. And so for us, that's like essentially, minus like a huge, horrible thing happening, that's basically a non-negotiable for us. And that's one of the ways that we currently prioritize summer together as a family.
Well, and what I hear you saying too there is it means sacrifice. There's things that I have to put to the side to make that beach trip happen. That thing doesn't just happen because it happens. In January, I have to book the place for one, but like you said, the price continues to go up, but it is a non-negotiable for us. But it doesn't come easy to spend that money. It's not like it's easy to bring forward the resources to make that happen. It's not like it's easy to miss work for an entire week and miss out on making content and miss out on doing all these different things. It does take a level of sacrifice, but you do need some level of sacrifice to live your life giving priority to the most important things in your life. Mm-hmm. And if you aren't willing to do that, or you feel stuck and you can't do that, it's going to be really hard to get to a place where you can live fully and make the most of whatever it is.
Right. And speaking of being able to do that, one of the things for me is just like letting off of the routines sometimes, because it's very hard for me to not be able to do the things that I think should be done in the way that I think they should be done. So like bath night, for instance, I know that's simple. I know that's silly, but like if it's a bath night, I feel weird about not doing bath night for the kids. Like it's just a thing. Like I don't like to be thrown off the routine. And so one of the ways that I can help maximize our summer together as a family is by simply understanding and acknowledging that that's hard for me and then letting it go anyway. Mm-hmm. Like letting the routine go sometimes anyway. Does it mean that things are going to go according to my perfect plan? Nope, it sure doesn't. It means that bedtime might be a little later some nights, and I'm going to have to be okay with that. It means that some things are just going to fall off to the wayside, and I'm going to have to be okay with that. But as I'm learning to do that more and more, I'm realizing the incredible benefits of doing that. And it doesn't mean that our summer is routineless or we don't care anymore. It just means that sometimes there are things that need to be priority, and they're going to take that top place. And it does help me make the most of the summer, because instead of stressing about a bath, I'm able to say something like, let's go to the park, or you know what, let's not come home right after daycare and summer camp and work, and let's go do this together as a family. And it might mean that we don't get home in time, and that's got to be okay sometimes.
Every time, and it's been more than I can even think of, but every time I've been stuck, every time I've been stressed, every time I've felt trapped in a rut, the only way that I've ever been able to get myself out of it is to mix up the routine, is to try different things, is to let some things go, is to make a point of changing it up. Like so many of us have so many things that we're doing and we're just over busy and over scheduled, and we think we have to stick with it the way it is, but we don't necessarily have to do that. Mm-hmm. But coupled right along with that, again, talking about back to sacrifice, but when we know that we're going to mix things up, change things up, it does take prioritizing work in that moment. It does take prioritizing whatever it is that you're going to leave behind to go do that thing. Sometimes you have to prioritize. Like going back to the beach, we have to work insanely hard the week before and after to go to the beach. But that's a sacrifice we're willing to make it happen. And it doesn't just happen. Right. Like we have to make a decision and a point to prioritize hard the things that we're going to leave behind while we're doing it. And it does take shifting things around. It does take changing things up, because it won't just happen.
Right.
Like if you leave it to chance, the chance is it's not going to happen. And it wouldn't for us. And a lot of times we even have to remind ourselves this on the other side of it when we're busy, stressed, and feeling awful, like when we get back from the beach, for example. And we're like, but what blessing did we just have? And what much of an amazing time did we just have? And what are we more likely to remember 10 years from now? The fact that we had to come back and had work be busy, or the fact that we had like a magical trip to the beach with our family, like with memories that will last a lifetime?
Right. And we do this on a smaller scale too. Just in general because you want to, play more and be outside more and do all the things. Just being sure to, when you're focused on work or when we're focused on this podcast, when we're focused on what we're doing, staying super, super focused so that we can get all the work done in a little bit less time and have more time for play and more time for rest. And that's kind of what we like to do in the summer because we just want to be spending and enjoying our time together as a family way more than we want to be bringing work back into every single thing at every single minute, because it's very hard when you work together on multiple things like we do to not talk about work all the time. Like it's a very hard thing for us to cut work off because we do it together the same way we do this life together. So for us, it's very intentional, especially during the summer, to make that rest and make that play a part of our experience.
Yeah. I mean, I constantly have to remind myself to prioritize rest. And as much as I try to remind myself of it, I really, my negative inner voice tells me that it's not a priority. And a lot of times what I found is the way I was living was proof that it wasn't a priority to me, because otherwise, why wouldn't I be doing it? It's like a side thing that, maybe if I find the time and can get to it, then maybe I'll, work in 10 minutes here or 10 minutes there. And so if it's a priority in my life, then I have to make it a priority. But in order to make it a priority, we have to set things up to allow that to happen. Like if we want to take some time off in these next couple of weeks with the wedding, with the beach trip, we have to plan out content. We have to record podcasts like we're doing right now. We have to get ahead on things to allow that to happen. Otherwise, I'm just going to feel stressed on the other side because I didn't plan and I didn't do those things. Mm-hmm. Now, don't get me wrong. There are times where you can just throw things to the wayside and just let life happen. I fully believe in that. But in a bigger way, if you want to prioritize certain things, like I think rest is one of the biggest things you can prioritize. That's what I've learned from my own life. Then you have to plan a little bit and make sure that you're choosing the things that you want to do. And on the flip side of that, not taking on new projects, new things, and more busyness and injecting more into your life. Y'all, we're all overscheduled and over inundated. And if you have kids, you're pushing them into every activity. And I know no one wants to hear it because you don't want to hold your kids back, but does your kid really want to do those things, or are you just pushing them into it? Or are you just pushing yourself into it because you feel like you should, or because someone told you had to? Mm-hmm. Or do you actually, in your heart of hearts, want to do that? Because that's a different question. If you want to do it, that's amazing. If it's something you're doing because you feel obligated to do it, or because you feel like you have to do it to do whatever it is, it needs to be questioned at what's the motivation behind it. Because we can get stuck in the tunnel vision of what we're doing, and we don't even realize why we're even still doing it. At least I have for my own life.
Right. So for us, especially like right now, when we know that summertime matters, that we're trying to prioritize family and togetherness and summer vacation, because summer vacation is so fleeting. And it's, our kids start school back up on August 3rd, I think. So summer comes and goes very quickly for us. And, just on a larger scale, how many summers do we even have with our kids? Not that many before they turn 18 and off they go, So during this time when that's a big thing for us, we're not going to start a new big project. We're not going to take on additional things. That's going to be for another time when this is on the back burner and we're able to start something new and add a little bit more stress to our threshold. But right now that's not the time because we're trying to enjoy life.
It's true. I mean, that's the thing, y'all. You have to, for yourself, you have to prioritize what's most important. What does it mean for you to look at your time or making the most of whatever it is that you filled in the blank with? Because maybe it's not time for you. Maybe it's not family for you. Maybe it's something else. But what are you doing right now to make a point to allow that to happen? And we just call you to take a little reflection time and think about, if that is a priority for your life, what would it look like to actually make it a priority? And maybe you already are, and that's amazing. But for us, we've found a lot of times we need to get pointed back to true north. Like if family and things like that are part of our true values, a lot of times I can get distracted and look left and look right, but sometimes I need to focus on my values and my true north and figure out where I actually want to go. And am I heading in that direction? Or if you were looking at the map of my life, am I zigzagging around and all out of place because I'm a man and I don't want to ask for directions? I don't know. But you need to think about that for your own life and make sure that whatever it is you filled in that you want to make the most of, what would it look like if you actually decided to prioritize that today? We love y'all. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to Growth Reframed. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe and leave us a review. We would love to connect with you, so shoot us a DM on Instagram @Growth Reframed. We love y'all.